Excellent. I did not want to miss this next speaker, so I wanted to make sure I started the recording. So I am absolutely thrilled to introduce our speaker that's starting our afternoon. This is Dr. Wang. Dr. Wang is joining us from Zhejiang University, where she is the PhD. She is a PhD. She is also the associate professor as well as a master's supervisor. In addition to that, she's the director of international relations office at the Zhejiang Chinese Medical University. She's the deputy chief member of the Inner Canon of the Yellow Emperor's Committee. And she's the managing director of the Translation Committee of the World Federation of TCM. She's a member of the Translation Standing Committee of the Chinese Association. And she's also the extraordinary talent. She won the Extraordinary Talents in TCM awarded by the State Administration of Central Administration in China. Dr. Wang also serves as an associate editor and member of the editorial board in several TCM textbooks. She is a leader of many research projects, including projects supported by the National Natural Science Foundation of China. She has published more than 20 academic articles. She is the associate editor and co-editor of the Chinese Medicine, the English version, selected readings in medical records of famous figures, selections of the 4 great classics of TCM, and many of the other English TCM textbooks, which we might be using in our schools. Dr. Wang has been engaged in teaching TCM for over 15 years. During this time, she has devoted herself to the international promotion of TCM. And since 2005, she has taught models for the international students in English in such topics as Basic Theory of TCM, the selected readings of the Inner Canon of the Yellow Emperor, and Introduction to Traditional Chinese Medicine. And she is actually joining us today, which makes me extremely excited and grateful. And Happy New Year. It is
Thank you.
Bright and early over there in China. And Dr. Wang will be discussing the difference between Chinese and Western medicine. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Wang.
Thank you, Robin, for your very kind introduction. And right now, let me share my screen.
You try it now. I forgot to hit that button.
Okay. Right now it's okay. Okay, so Robin, can you see my screen, right?
I can.
Okay. So I just start, okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. So good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. I'm Ella from the International Relations Office of Zhejiang Chinese Medical University. And just as Robin's introduction, actually, besides I'm working as an administrator of the International Relations Office, meanwhile, since 2005, I have been teaching basic theory of TCM and the Yellow Emperor's Inner Classic in Zhejiang Chinese Medical University, including Chinese students and foreign students. So, I've been very happy that Robin can have me here to share some of my personal idea here. Okay, so today my topic will be, actually, I cannot find a very good translation to what I'm going to say. So what I'm going to say actually in Chinese is 中西一之离与合. But I just cannot find a very good chance integrate in English. So I would like to say, like, let's look at the different perspective of Chinese medicine and Western medicine. So before me starting my lecture, I would introduce some current TCM education in China. So actually, although the Chinese medicine have a quite long history in China, the very formal education of TCM actually is not studied a quite long time. So it is only in 1956 that the China established 4 TCM colleges, respectively in Beijing, Shanghai, Chengdu, and Guangzhou. So at that time, that is like the China begins the public education of TCM. So far as right now, we have 24 TCM colleges and universities in China. So actually, these 24 TCM colleges and universities is quite big. Just take DCMU as an example. Right now, we have like 3 campuses in Hangzhou, and we have more than 20,000 students, including them. There are more than 4,000 postgraduate students. So that is more than a TCM university. Actually, in China, a TCM university is like is very similar to a comprehensive university. Just as TCM as an example, again, we have like 11 schools, different schools. They focuses on different majors, and we have more than 30 programs for bachelor students. Of course, a lot of postgraduate students program, including master and PhD. Okay, so that is the 24 TCM university. They named at the TCM universities or colleges. And besides that, the information that we got is we have 51 universities that they setting up Chinese medicine. Okay, and also another 38 university, they setting up the integrated Chinese and Western medicine. So here you will see the integrated. I just using a different color. That's because this is also a part that I wanted to talking about. Although some of the university we still using the name that the integrated Chinese medicine or Western medicine, or we using like the combination of Chinese and Western medicine. But if the Chinese medicine or Western medicine, can they really be integrated or combined? That is also a part that I wanted to talking about today. And in the end, you can see, although some of the university, they don't have Chinese medicine major, or they don't have the integrated Chinese or Western medicine major, but they still have the science of Chinese materia medica, 中药学. So this kind of current TCM education in China, what I'm trying to point out is we have a very formal, very standard TCM education right now in China. And if we wanted to see what the level a TCM university would like, it will like that. So the best top 20 medical university, this is the latest ranking of the best top 20 medical university in China. And a little bit regretted is that among these 20 medical universities, only 6 TCM medical university is in the ranking. And we can see that the Beijing University of Chinese Medicine ranks the number 9 among all the 20 medical university in China. But he is the best one in all of the Chinese medical universities. And over Zhejiang Chinese Medical University, we rank number 19. This is the like what kind of level a TCM university develops like. So then I'm going to moving into what I'm going to talking about today. So you can see the public education of TCM right now in China is very standard, is very, have a very big scale, and also be running by the Ministry of the Education of China. But the problem is, the issue is, even inside China, we still have a lot of conflict between the Chinese medicine and the Western medicine. While the conflict most of the time they are facing, they to the Chinese medicine. Even inside China, we, sometimes we just doubting about, okay, there's side effects of the Western medicine, but no one's going to doubt the existence of Western medicine, right? But even inside China, sometimes TCM is being doubted with its science or with its possibility or necessary to exist. So that is what I'm going to say, the conflict between Chinese and Western medicine, even inside China. And then after that, I will say something about the Chinese and the Western medicine. Should they be integrated? That is what I've been pointed out before, or should they be cooperated or collaborated? So the first topic, the first part I wanted to say is the conflict between Chinese and Western medicine, even inside China. There are more than hundreds of years since the introduction of Western medicine into China. So there begins the conflict between Chinese medicine and Western medicine. Let me make some examples. What I'm going to introduce following is 4 very famous guys of Chinese people in China. The first one, Guo Moruo, a very famous literature and historian, but he also is a very famous representative that he doesn't believe in Chinese medicine. So actually he wants to say something like that, 我一直到死绝不会麻烦郎中. So if we translate in English, that is similar to, I would prefer to die rather than try anything of TCM. Another example is Lu Xun. I think all of the Chinese people know Lu Xun. So he is a very famous literature thinker and democratic fighter. He is so that well known and admired by generations of Chinese people because of his spirit of patriotism. But meanwhile, at the same time, he is one of the representatives that he's against TCM. So he said, 中医不过是有意无意的骗子. That means that he thinks when TCM trying to cheating patient, TCM just cheats patients either intentionally or unintentionally. So, but all in all, he thinks all TCM practitioners or teachers, they just lies. And another 2 guys, one is Zhang Gongyao. He is from the Zhongnan University, a very famous professor. In 2006, he published a paper that is 取消中医. So if we translate in English, that is meaning, let's say goodbye to TCM. So at that time, in his paper, he strongly suggested that TCM should be abolished. So after Zhang Gongyao, a man whose name is Fang Zhouzi, so he just directly pointed out that he thinks TCM is pseudoscientific. So this is just for examples for recent, very famous people in China. They don't trust in TCM. So if we look back the 100 years, the recent 100 years, we at least can find out there are 4 events that called on to abolish TCM, especially in 1950. In 1950, so at that time we have an event that we wanted to renovate the old medical system. So the old medical system actually here is pointed to the TCM. So at that time, people even wanted to using the Western medicine totally instead of the Chinese medicine. So that's why the Chinese medicine is being named as the old medical system. Okay, so what I wanted to say is why even inside China, TCM has been doubted like that. So the question is, we have to thinking about TCM is scientific or pseudoscientific, because, as I've been mentioned before, for Western medicine, most of time we just, thinking about the side effects, right? Because of the drugs, chemical drugs, or the operation, they maybe cause some side effects, but we never doubt about their science or the existence of the Western medicine. But even inside China, Chinese medicine has been doubted about his scientific. So some of them, they even wanted to abolish or stop TCM. So if we look at the background of the people who, who is against the TCM, who don't trust in TCM, we usually, most of the time, we can find out this kind of background. They usually are writers or professors or philosophers. All of them are well-educated people, and they have really high social status. They're not like somebody. Okay, they are really big body, and they are very knowledgeable with multiple disciplinary study. And we also can find out they have an experience of study abroad. So I think for example, these 4 people, they good guy. They don't. I think the intention is not trying to, to polish or to say some bad words on TCM. They just for themselves, they do things. There's some problem with TCM. So the issue is why they have not been trusted in TCM, why they doubted in TCM in that way. So I think we needed to say something about the science, because I have been searched a lot of information, because most of the people who against TCM, they think the science, including those 4 people I've been mentioned, they believe that science is a theory which should be based on experiment and can be proved by data from both observation and repeatable calculation. So they think this should be called as a science. But if we carefully, or if we read deeply about the concept of the science, do you think, is this the real or the right or the correct conception or definition of the science? For me, I feel like this is a way to do the scientific research. So TCM, is it a scientific or pseudoscientific? We needed to figure out what is science. So we needed to figure out the definition of the science. If we follow the definition as in this slide, science should be based on experiment and can be proved by data from both observation and repeatable calculation. If we follow this definition of the science, maybe we do need to adapt about the TCM. But the question is this the right definition of the science? So the first thing we needed to solve is what is the science exactly? What is the real definition of the science? I also have searched a lot of books and a lot of information papers, but finally I just get a lot of definition about science. In different books, in different academic research, they define the science in different way. But all in all, we can say that science is one way to look at the world. Most of the professors, they believe that the science, of course, is one way to look at the world. But my question is, should there only be one way to look at the world? Let's see this picture. If we look at it from this angle, what happened? It is kind of terrible. But if we change now for perspective, it is very tender picture, a very sweet picture. And another example is like this. Sometimes when we look from different angles, look from different perspectives, we do see different things. So how many sticks in this picture? It is confusing. The problem is because we looking from different angles. Me myself very love this psychologist. So he's from Swiss. So he said the laboratory with its intensive rejection to demonstrate the invariable validity of the natural world. Can that work? So sometimes if we leave things to the nature, we may see a very different picture. So he also thinks the natural circumstances is full of events, is full of, a lot of different possibilities. But if we trying to using a very absolutely laws or specific laws to explain, to demonstrate the very the natural circumstances with a lot of possibilities, he thinks that is almost an exception. So then let's go back to the question we've been raising. What is a science? So if we look into the encyclopedic Britannia, so the science is defined as to pursue knowledge, including the pursuit of all sorts of truths and the basic principles and its corresponding application. 大不列颠百科全书说，科学涉及到一种知识的追求，包括追求各种普遍真理或者各种基本的规律。And meanwhile, Darwin also said something very similar. He said, the science is to collect and collate facts so as to get principles and conclusions. And then using these principles and conclusions, we can understand the natural world. So that is a science. That is the definition of the science. So if we follow this definition, do you think TCM is scientific? I think everyone has already got your answer. And then let's say something about the Chinese and Western medicine, whether they should be integrated, 结合, or cooperated. Maybe this is not very familiar for people outside China, because in China, there's more than 40 years, we train a lot of different methods to trying to integrate the Chinese medicine and Western medicine. Of course, I think we started with very good purpose, but a lot of works turning out to be vain. Sometimes we feel like we started to thinking about, is it possible for Chinese medicine and Western medicine to really be integrated or to be combined with each other? So let's do some exercise, but unfortunately, because this is online lecture, it's not very easy to communicate with audience. So when we look at this case, it is very common diseases happen in children, and in Western medicine, we will say this is a hand, foot, mouth diseases, right? Or we be saying this is a virus infection. Because this is virus infection, of course, we've been using some drugs which can anti-virus. Well, if we look from the angle of the Chinese medicine, we will make a single differentiation. Then we will come out to the diagnosis that is a pattern of wind heat invading the lung with disharmony of the wave. So let's try to focus on the diagnosis, both in Western medicine and the Chinese medicine. In Western medicine, the virus, the infection. So actually this gives us the idea we've been more focused on the illness, right? What exactly happened inside in our body. So because there is virus infection, so that's why we needed to kill the virus. Well, if we trying to understand from the Chinese medicine way, a pattern of wind, heat invading the lung and the disharmony of the wave. So this is more like looking, just as we always say in the holism, the holistic idea, the holistic concept, right? So we looking from a very big view. We see what is happened to the people, to the human being, and then we make the prescription to recover the human being to its normal. So I would like to say, sometimes when Western medicine trying to treating a disease, he is to treat the illness on the patient. So he trying to finding out what is exactly happened inside the body. But sometimes the illness cannot be explained, right? The illness cannot be, understood in this moment, or we cannot really go directly reach the virus. So sometimes we needed to treat the patient with the illness. So what we focus is on sometimes should be the patient, but not the illness. Sometimes we don't need to look into the very, very tiny things. We're trying to recover or balance, harmonize the human body as a unit. Maybe we can solve the illness. In Chinese, we will say 治人的病和治病的人. So that is the different expression. So then we see what is the TCM. I think most of the audience today are TCM master students or PhD students. So we all know that TCM actually has a recorded history of 2,000 years, of more than 2,000 years. But the application of Chinese medicine in China has more than 5,000 years. And I know there are a lot of traditional medicine in different countries, but we have to say that the TCM is the best developed one. I think one of the reasons is because we have, TCM have formed its theoretical system. So I know a lot of tradition medicine, for example, in Africa countries, they just don't have theory. They are practicing. They are not formed the historical system. So it inhibits the development of some of the traditional medicine in different countries. And TCM reads human body in a holistic way, understands the psychological, physiological and pathological condition of human body with the theory of the visceral and bounce channel and collaterals, qi, blood and body fluids, or we using the 5 diagnostic methods to differentiate syndromes, and then we use the acupuncture, herbs, observation, qigong to serve as methods to treat patients. So there's very famous scientist. He said something like TCM is a complicated system of science. His name is Zhu Qingshi. And meanwhile, if we look at the Western medicine, we'll see what the Western medicine sees human body in a cellular way. And they based on anatomy, physiology, histology, and biology. And they make diagnosis by medical instruments or by means of medical machine, laboratory, and they using Western drugs or operation, laser, chemotherapy. So when we trying to make a comparison between them, they're totally different. They think in a different way. they analyze the body in different way. They're using different methods to diagnose or treat the patients. So we have a very funny joke in China. When TCM talks with Western medicine, it's just like goo and gaga, because they totally using different language. They're thinking in different way. How can they, understand each other? I'm running out of time. Sorry, I just need another 5 minutes. Okay, so I needed to hurry up. Then let's look at these 4 pictures. So if we can see they have different problem. Maybe someone, get anger, someone has depression, someone has, abdominal pain, something like that. So if we try into using one perspective to describe these 4 patients, we will say, like the first picture, like Qi deficiency, the second one, like the Qi stagnation, the third one, Qi depression, the last one, like the hyperactivity or counterflow of the Qi. So no matter they've been suffering from different diseases, but we can using the idea of the Qi to describe, to supplementing Qi or to regulate the movement of Qi. So what is a Qi, right? Even a very famous professor or like experts, I think it is not easy for him to explain what exactly the Qi it is. So the Qi actually it originates from the ancient philosopher of Chinese people, and then when it applied into the TCM, we understood that Qi is a very active, ceaseless moving or imperceptible substances. But still, with this concept, with this definition, I think a lot of people still feels like it's not easy to, explain what exactly Qi it is. Sometimes we just feel it, right? Just as the Yellow Empress in the classic, he said, hundreds of illnesses are caused by Qi. Since hundreds of the illness are caused by disorder of Qi, that's why we can regulate Qi. We can focus on Qi to treat disease, to curing disease. So this is also an example. We do not focus on the exactly things. We focus on the holism. We focus on the human body as a unit. So this is an example I wanted to demonstrate the feeling of the Qi. I don't know if anyone heard something about a Carlian camera. So that is a camera right now being widely used in biology and bionics or genetics. So that is a Carlian. That is a camera. They can take the picture some phenomena that we cannot see with our eyes. So for example, this is a leaf. This is a broken leaf, and if the broken leaf be took a picture with a normal camera, we will see a broken leaf's picture, right? But if the same leaf being taken picture under a Carlian camera, so even the top part that actually is not exist anymore, we still can catch that. So it gives us the idea sometimes something that we cannot see doesn't mean it is not existed. So this is also the picture be taken by Carlian camera. So a man before smell a lemon or after smell a lemon, so we can see the brightness around him is different. After he have a smell on a lemon, we can see the brightness obviously be more colorful, more brightened. So it feels like the emotions, sometimes we cannot see the change around him, but it can be captured on the Carlian camera. So we would like to say, those we cannot see does not mean that they are not exist. Those we cannot understand now doesn't mean they are unscientific or probably be proved. They will probably be proved in the future. So rather than to judge TCM is scientific or pseudo-scientific, I think we need a scientific spirit to see and read things rather than trying to judge their scientificity even before we don't understand them. So I would like to say, so different between Chinese medicine and Western medicine, can they be integrated, or should they be cooperated or collaborated? The answer definitely is yes. So sometimes we need to treat the illness. Sometimes we need to treat the patient with the illness. So I think the best result is we trying to make TCM and Western medicine to be cooperated or collaborated, just like this character He. And actually the character He goes from a very ancient Chinese instrument. Because I just don't have time, so I cannot explain what the instrument sounds like. This is He, so we just hope that Chinese medicine and Western medicine can be cooperate or collaborate in a better way to serve people all over the world. Okay, thank you. That's all for my lecture. I'm sorry I have been 10 minutes later. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Dr. Wang. This was fascinating and so timely, because the conversations are so often about how can we integrate it. And before you go, Dr. Wang, there is actually a question for you, if you don't mind. And I see your next participant there. I think she's like, "Ooh, a little break is okay." So Hendria is asking, what does the integration of Western and TCM look like through the eyes of education and through the eyes or the lens of hospitals?
Okay, it is a very good question. So as I've been saying, we in China, inside China, TCM University, since its setting up in 1956, we tried a lot to integrate Chinese medicine and Western medicine. For example, when we doing the education, a student in Noah University, as an example, our bachelor degree students, during his study, the 5 years, I would say like more than 40% of his courses or the curriculum actually focuses on Western medicine. So anatomy, physiology, pathology, they all need to learn. So that's meaning they only have 60% of the courses, they are TCM focused, concentrated courses. So this is on one side. And let me take postgraduate students as an example. If we move to the master program, so in China, I will say like more than 60% of the master students who focuses on Chinese medicine, no matter focuses on theory research or experimental research or clinical research, they will have a lot of time to focus on experimental research. They working in the laboratory. So we spend a lot of time to using the modern methods, to modern technique to explain the Chinese medicine. So for example, we trying to finding out what is the ion exchange. So what is the micro data being changed inside body in a splinty deficiency patient or in a blood stasis patient. But unfortunately, this kind of method does not working very well. So for example, our bachelor students, they spend a lot of time in learning both Chinese medicine and Western medicine. So sometimes making some confusing what they exactly focuses on. So and for the experiments, we spend a lot of time and a lot of money to doing this kind of experiments. Well, the final results is, for example, the splinty deficiency patient. Okay, we finding out what is changed in the blood, what is changed in the stomach, what is changed in different level. But is this real useful to explain the TCM, or is this really useful in the clinical practice? So in the recent 5 or 10 years, a lot of professors or scientists, they trying some different perspective or different angles to make Chinese medicine and Western medicine to be collaborated, but we still are working. We still did not finding a very good way that they can be, really cooperated or tightly cooperate together to helping people. Yeah, thank you, Robin.
That was a good question. Unfortunately, we do need to move on to the next person, but Dr. Wang, thank you so much. We could ask you a million questions all night. But thank you
Thank
again.
you.